The secret to gaining the highest ROI in HEX lies in a little-known mechanism called shares. When you stake your HEX, you receive shares. It's kind of like a guarantee. Your shares guarantee you back your principal, plus a percentage of interest and bonuses over time. The key to achieving the highest ROI in HEX is acquiring as many shares as you possibly can by staking early and staking long. The earlier you stake and the longer you stake, the higher your ROI will be. The brilliance of the share design is this. Every time a stake is ended anywhere in the world, those shares are effectively burned. They cease to exist. This means that every single day there are less and less shares to be had. This also means that every moment you wait to get in stake HEX, the share pool is dwindling. Now, why does that matter? HEX is programmed to pay out the highest interest and rewards to those who own the most shares. That's why it matters. Staking early is key, but it's not everything. How do you get the most shares? You stake longer than everyone else. The maximum length you can stake is 5,555 days, or 15.2 years. If you want to get into HEX early and become a whale, how do you do it? You stake today, right now, this very moment, and you stake for 5,555 days. As everyone else's stakes expire, you end up holding the largest bag of shares in the network. This guarantees you receive the largest percentage of interest and bonuses. Don't want to wait 15 years to realize your profit? The beauty of HEX is that it's designed to pay out perpetual passive income to its holders, just like a traditional banking CD. This is done by creating what we call a stake ladder. Imagine if you had 1 million HEX, and you broke it up into 65,000 HEX stakes from year 1 to 15, setting a stake every year for 15 years. This is called a stake ladder, and there are many ways to design them to work best for you. Some hexers create a staking ladder that pays them every 2 years, some every quarter, and some every month. The idea is that on a semi-regular basis, you'll have fully mature stakes that you can cash out for the next 15 years, or even indefinitely. The smartest hexers have plans to only cash out the interest each period and restake their principal out for 15 more years. This allows them to earn passive income indefinitely from HEX. HEX is a vastly superior product to that of traditional banking time deposit accounts, and it's the purest form of decentralized finance. There is no company, no middlemen, and no gatekeepers in HEX. It's a triple audited autonomous product built on the blockchain that has 100% uptime. Welcome to the future.
Hi guys, what an awesome video, what an awesome conference. Thank you, Maddie, for inviting us to this conference. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you guys for putting together a presentation I know is going to be so outstanding.
Yeah, we worked hard on it. So
hello, everybody. Hello.
So I'm going to hand the floor over to you guys, and thanks so much.
Exactly. Sure. Can you please just put on the screen share, and then thanks for having us on. Then
Let me know if you need anything. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, what an awesome conference. This whole conference today just lead up to this keynote, and everything we talked on this conference today just fits perfectly into this keynote. You will see what we mean by that. So let's go. Today we are going together on a journey deep into the HEX rabbit hole. Key for today is to understand the HEX staking, to understand why it's nearly impossible to predict our staking rewards, and our keynote will help you when it comes to your own staking strategy. Please stick with us. We have the presentation full of graphs and numbers. So put away everything that might distract you from it, because we need your full concentration right now. Let's jump into it.
Exactly. Thanks for the introduction, Alan. And what we are going to show you at first is the current status of the HEX ecosystem. And we will show you what factors are determining your daily staking payout. After that, we show you what assumptions need to be made to be able to calculate the possible future payout. With the pool of assumptions, we are going to show you after that 2 different staking behaviors where we can compare the 2 staking behaviors pretty easy, you know. And finally, we are going to explain you what this model means and what we learned from it and what you can learn from it too. And so this keynote will provide you with the answer, how much will I make? Which is the most common asked questions what we get from new Hexican when it comes to hex staking.
Exactly. In this first part, we are going to show you the 3 different factors for the daily payout, which are the hex payout total per day, the share pool, and the staking ratio. So now let's go over to each of those factors and see how they work.
Exactly. So let's start with the daily hex payout total. What you see here is the daily hex payout total since the beginning of hex. And what we see is that it is going up generally, but there are those spikes along the way. And here you can see the formula how this daily hex payout total is getting calculated. So the code takes a fraction of 3.69% per day and times it with all ever minted hex. And on top of that, 50% of all penalties are added daily to that too. And here, back to the chart, in the end, you see a flat line. And this is because now the hex launch phase is over and new hex are only minted when old stakes are ending. And therefore, the term all ever minted hex is growing slower now, which leads to a slower rise in the total payout. However, we will see how this pool will still grow in a later chart when we are coming to our assumptions. Just to keep in mind, the general daily payout total is increasing, but due to the penalties, we see these spikes from time to time.
Now Patrick has shown you how the daily payout is formed. So now it is going up in general, but fluctuate because of the penalties. Let's go on with the next slide, which is the explanation of the T-share pool.
Exactly. So to come to the second part, which to the second factor influencing your daily payout, we are coming to the pool of total T-shares. And here we see them since the start of Hex again. You see a fast rise here in the beginning, and then it flattens out a bit, but still rises, but on a slower pace. And in the end of the chart right here, you see a spike, which is the big payday where nearly 98% of all hex were staked. After the big payday, so right now, the pool still is slightly bigger than before. And in general, it increases when new stakes are made and it decreases when old stakes are ending. And another fact for the pool of total shares is that due to the ever-rising share price, it will be harder and harder over time to keep the pool at such a high level as it is right now. And harder just means that you will need more financial energy as time goes on. And if new people join or if they stake longer as old stakes are ending, the pool will also rise. So in the short term, the pool can rise or can increase or decrease, but in the long run, it will decrease, but nobody knows how much or how fast this process will go on.
Yeah. The thing is, the total T-shares, the pool of total T-shares is nearly impossible to predict, as it is only based on human behavior. In our next slide, we'll show you the latest factor, what is influencing the interest, which is the staking ratio.
Exactly, Alan. So what we see here is the final graph which you need to know to answer the question, how much do I make? It's all new hacks which come into existence right now are based on hard mathematical facts of the code, and newly created hacks are only getting to the staker class. And to explain it, if 100% of all the hacks are staked, the staker class gets 3.69% on average per year. And if only 1% of all the hacks are staked, everybody on average will get 369% per year. And right now, or as the end of the last year, we were at 9.7% staked, which means an average APY. So APY stands for annual percentage yield of 39.3% if you are an average staker. So what we have seen right now was, I will go back, the daily hex payout total, then the pool of total shares, and finally the staking ratio. And those three factors are determining your daily payout. Sorry, I went too fast. So the total hex will be paid out to the pool of shares, and if more hex is staked, everybody will get less daily payout, and if less hex is staked, everybody will get more daily payout. And the last thing I want to add here is that the staking ratio may influence the price, but it's not the main driver for price, because the main driver for price will still be just buyers and sellers.
Yeah, and now we are coming to our assumptions we had to make. We already know the factors that calculate a possible return. Now we need to forecast those facts into the future. We will now go through our assumptions when it comes to the daily payout in HEX and what we think about the behavior of the T-share pool over the next 15 years. Those two assumptions will give us a model of the daily payout per T-share. Our model is not static, and as the dynamic of the code is based on human behavior, our assumptions may be or maybe not totally be correct. This keynote is not about making correct assumptions, but to show you the power of longer pays better. After we go over our assumptions, we will give you a model of two different staking behaviors and compare them to each other. So even if our assumptions are not quite right, the difference between those two people in our model will still be the same. And it's significant, as you will see in a moment.
Exactly. So let's jump into our first assumption. This is the assumption of the daily payout total. As we know, HEX will inflate, but this inflation in HEX is delayed because until the interest is not minted, it won't be added to the total HEX number, because as you had heard before, the code takes a fraction of 3.69% and times it with all ever minted HEX. So the daily interest which comes onto old stakes is not added to the all ever minted HEX until it gets minted. So you have like delayed inflation in HEX. And because this dynamic is making it impossible to assume it correctly over the next 15 years, what we took in our assumption was the maximum possible, which are the 3.69% per year. And here in the graph, you see how that looks like. So basically what we're doing is taking the total HEX, which is right now a bit more than 600 billion, around 628 billion. And we just add 3.69% each and every year. And then we were able to derive the daily payout total from that. And you see it here. The total HEX is this white line, and the bulks right here is the million in HEX, so the million HEX daily payout, or everything in HEX.
Yes, so this was the explanation on how we made the assumptions for the daily payout total. This was an easy calculation, but now we are coming to a much harder assumption, which is the total share pool over time.
Exactly. So what we see here is the expected share pool total. What we had to do is make the assumption of the future total share pool, which is based on human behavior. So again, pretty much impossible to predict correctly, So the only thing what we know is overall this share pool will decrease in the long run because it gets harder and harder to maintain such a high pool. But due to the ever rising share, this is due to the ever rising share price. As I said before, over time you will need more economical energy to get the same amount of shares. And just generally speaking, the pool will decrease when stakes are ending and increase when stakes are getting started.
Because the share pool is depending on human behavior, we talked to different HEX OGs and asked them for their prediction on what they think the share pool will be in the future. We then took the average of those assumptions. What it shows is that in the short term, we think it will get the higher T-share pool. The reason why we assume the pool to rise short term is the share price did not jump as high as expected after big payday. Also, we think there will be more adoption of HEX, and we assume a longer weighted average staking length in the future.
And here in 2030, you see another cycle in the chart. And this is because we know that lots of large stakes are coming out that time. And because of that, we expect a faster decrease of the share pool from this time on. And just to go into a bit more detail here, if you go to the website hex.vision and then you press staking on the left side of the main page, you will see a chart of the future stakes ending. And there you see a bulk of really large stakes ending right around the 2030 mark. And those stakes were made like a year ago, maybe a year and 1 month ago, something like that. So in the beginning of HEX, within the first few weeks. So those stakes were made with a pretty good share rate. And therefore, some of those high stakes will put a new share price, and therefore from there on we assume that it will be so much harder to keep up the pace, the high of the total shares, that the pool will decrease even faster from there on.
And since we have now explained the different dynamics, in the next part we will talk about the payout per T-share, which is calculated based on our assumptions.
Exactly. So when you have assumed the daily payout in total, so the total daily payout in HEX and the T-share total over the years, you can calculate the expected daily payout per T-share. And if you have the daily payout total and the share pool total, it is very easy to calculate that, because you just divide the total HEX payout through the total share pool, and then you get the payout per T-share. So if you go to go.hex.com on the main page, you scroll down a bit after the two charts there, you see those two numbers. And if you just want to recalculate them out of curiosity, you take the number of the million HEX and divide it through the trillion shares, and then you get exactly the number which is displayed at daily payout per T-share.
So to sum it up, you see here a combination of the past 3 graphs. In the table, you see our assumption for each single year. There's a total hex and there's a share pool total. Having those two, we can now calculate the daily payout total and the daily payout per T share. This table is the data of the previous graphs and you have seen before, and you can also see on the right side. Since we now have explained all the different assumptions we had to make, I want to mention that even if those assumptions are not 100% correct, the main point of this keynote will still be valid. In the next part of our presentation, we can now work with those assumptions and those numbers, and we are able to make a simulation.
Exactly, Alan. So, as you know, it's a dynamic system in HEX, which you really see here, and I hope you understand right now why it is that hard to say somebody how much staking reward he or she will get by staking for a certain amount of time. But after our assumptions, what we can now do is compare different staking behaviors, which is now the most interesting part of the whole keynote. So here in our example, we just named the two person A and person B. Person A, on the one hand side, stakes 150,000 hex for just 1 year. But after this year, he restakes his principal or her principal, including all the accrued interest for another year, and does that 15 times in a row. So person A is compounding his hex 15 years. And on the other hand side, person B stakes his 150,000 hex, so the same principle at first, but person B stakes it right away for 15 years, so until end of 2035. And we choose these two staking behaviors to show you why longer pays better. And the most important outcome of this whole example is the difference between the two persons. Because basically both are staked for 15 years. Person A only has his hex liquid once per year, so like a little bit more flexible approach. But right after that, he restakes again. He restakes again right after that. And therefore, this comparing right now is all about the difference between the two persons.
So now we can calculate how many T-shares our two persons will get. For person B, it's very easy. We just looked it up last week on go.hex.com. For person A, we did the same, but only for 1 year. We also had to assume how many T-shares this person will get by restaking every year. Since other bigger stakes will set a new share rate, our person A will not get the same amount of shares, even if he restakes his whole interest. As there is a 10% bigger pays better bonus in HEX, we assume that our person A will lose about 5% of its shares every year. In the next slide, we show you the interest both persons will make.
Yes, so we calculated the accrued interest for every year for both persons, because with our assumptions in the first place, we were now able to do that. And in the end, which is marked right here in the presentation, you see the total interest accrued after 15 years for the different people. We calculated it by taking the yearly average of our assumed daily payout per T-share, or like of our calculated daily payout per T-share, which has the underlying assumptions of the total payout, of the total daily payout and the total share pool. And now we are going to show you those numbers in the form of different graphs to get a better picture of it.
You can see both persons make very good gains in interest. The biggest gains in interest for both persons will be accomplished in the last third of their duration. Person B will beat the total interest of person A at the shown point, which is after 2029.
Exactly. So they both start with the same amount of money. Person A just takes a slightly flexible approach, but person B sees the value of the new form of staking which Hex has to offer, and will make the same amount of interest like 6 years before person A will get to that point, you know. So when person A is finished here, person B reaches this level already after not even 10 years. And let's go on. What we are going to show you right here is both persons individually. So at first, you see the principal and interest in Hex for person A. So we start here at the 150,000 line, and you see a nice compounding effect, which brings us to a 5.5x in the end, which is pretty nice compared to every other traditional asset. And compared to that, person B. So again, person B stakes his 150,000 hex, so same starting point, but he is staking it for 15 years, which brings a much more compounding effect and a 20.2x. And here, to sum it up, you see both persons combined, and only when you see both staking behaviors like on the same charts, you see the huge difference of the two, because person B makes almost 4x more than person A. And you can now consider if more flexibility is really needed for staking your hex. And now we are coming to the last chart of our keynote right here. So you did it, people. And this is the individual APY. So APY stands for annual percentage yield for those two individual stakes. So here you see the power of the T-shares again. And the longer you hold on to them, the more value they become in the long term. So you don't see a huge gap in the first 10 years, but after that, the gap is only getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And our 15-year staker makes nearly 500% APY in his last year, because the longer you hold on to your T-shares, the more valuable they become.
So since Patrick and I started working on this presentation, I really learned a lot about compounding effect in Hex. Of course, I knew already that you could compound your Hex each year, and I also knew that the longer stake would always beat a short stake. But I really wasn't aware on how much of a difference it makes to have the right staking strategy up front. So in the Hex community, we discuss staking ladders a lot. Of course, I have one myself. But now, with all these information from this keynote, I would have staked totally different. To make it easier for you guys, we will now come to the last part of our presentation and discuss everything you need to know to find a staking strategy for your individual needs. We will talk about the power of T-shares, compare a 10 to 15-year stake, look at a more flexible approach, and our biggest learnings. The last part, we will talk Hex as a Kryptosparbuch.
So let's jump into the first part, the power of T-shares. What we see here is LPB, which means longer pays better, and share price only goes up. What is meant by this is that that's why it is important to make your stake as early as you can. We heard this before as well, like in the short introduction video. It's not like a matter of life or death if you stake today or tomorrow, but the longer you wait, the more financial energy you will need to put in to get the same amount of shares as you would get today. And that's what brings us to the lock-in T-shares for the long term, because as we have shown before, we showed you the difference between the accrued interest of our two persons, and that the time between the 10 and the 15 years, so the last third of the staking length, is paying you the most. And as said before, T-shares are getting more expensive because as old stakes are ending, the share price will go up. And what is also important to keep in mind is because T-shares are so the T-share total is decreasing in the long run and the total payout is increasing in the long run. It's a mathematical fact that in the long run the payout per T-share will increase for your individual long-term stake. And that's why we made a tip right here that you make a maximum, which means 5-5-5-5 stake.
So now we are going to compare a 10 to 15 year stake. We talk about the power of the last years. The last 5 years of staking, a 15-year stakes, pays you the same as the first 10 years. As we have seen in the graphs before, the interest really kicks in the last third of your duration. And what is if our assumptions are wrong? We talked about that before as well. Our assumptions may be or maybe not correct. Even when our assumptions of the share pool, for example, are incorrect, you will still make the most return of investment from year 10 till year 15. This is because of the ever-rising share price. So the question here is, can you hold 5 more years when knowing you will double your income? And the tip we can make here is think about staking before you actually stake. Think about how many percentage of your hex should be staked for the longest term.
Yes, so the next slide, a more flexible approach. The question here is, can you hold for 15 years? Because you have to have a very strong mindset to hold on to a single 15-year stake. And therefore, a lot of people are recommending a staking ladder. So for a more flexible approach, a staking ladder gives you more control over your own mindset and, of course, more flexibility, but it comes with the cost of potential future gains. So the best thing to do it is set up a staking ladder that fits your own mindset. That's why we can't state like make this staking ladder or do this staking approach. You know, it's a individual question, and your staking should fit your mindset. And just a word to emergency end staking. This emergency end staking honestly should never be considered. And if it does, you really should rethink your staking ladder, because emergency end staking can literally nuke your account. And that's why the important tip right here is that you choose a staking strategy that you never need to emergency end stake.
So now we come to our biggest learning, and we talked with Patrick about the first thing here a lot. It is never sell. It maybe sounds crazy, but I will explain what we mean with that. When you sell, you don't get more hex through staking. By selling hex, you lose your position. This leads to a decrease of your T-shares. Only sell hex if you really need to. Take other money first, which isn't the store of value, fiat money, for example. And remember, person A never sold a single hex and still lost a lot of ground compared to person B, who had just one stake for 15 years. And that's why even if you sell, you will never get to this person A, and this person A already lost so much ground compared to person B. That's what I want to show here. So the next point is longer pays better. And we already know that. If you stake your HEX for over 10 years, you get a 200% staking bonus for the whole time. And that is why you want to hold on those 200% bonuses for like the last 5 years when you make a 15-year stake, because that is the time where the exponential growth really kicks in. And the last point, of course, is bigger pays better. If you stake more HEX, you get up to 10% in staking bonus. And again, you want to hold on those T shares. Our tip here is the longer you hold, the better your compounding effect will be.
So, and to come to the last point of our conclusion is HEX is a Kryptosparbuch. So the term Kryptosparbuch is a German term and just means crypto savings account. So it can also mean like a 401k. So your Kryptosparbuch can be seen as a 401k. It is a long-term investment in terms of HEX with trustless interest to build up generational wealth. You know, in a traditional 401k, it's not trustless interest, but still they give you some interest. And here a word about selling again. You know that in a retirement provision account, you don't sell for decades. Sometimes like half a century, you are not able to sell even. You get interest that little money hopefully gets a lot of money in the future. So to do it with HEX, you could always stake for 5555 days and treat it as your personal pension plan. And the really high-end strategy for the young generation out there would be compounding a 555 stake. So, because if you compare it to a traditional retirement provision account where you are locked in for 40, even 50 years, you could compound 3 maximum stakes compared to just one 401k, and you could take out money 3 times along the way. So you are still 3 times more flexible than a traditional retirement provision account. So our tip right here, as you heard before from Karim as well, is to start with your dream account. And another strategy tip is that you make different accounts, so different ETH addresses for different staking purposes, that you have your retirement pension account, your play money account, your short-term staking account, like you want to. So this, start with your dream account. That's the most important takeaway.
Yeah, I also think the dream account is the most important thing, and we will now come to an end. HEX is a hell of a ride, and it's changed my life and many others completely. The funny thing is, we are just at the beginning of this journey. I'm so glad to be a Hexican and to have found so many like-minded people. With this presentation, we wanted to give back to the community, and of course, this presentation, this keynote, will also be available for you guys in the future. At the end, I want to give a shout out to everybody who helped us with this keynote. First, there's 10Alexa10, who provided us with those beautiful graphs. He has built an awesome web page, and you can use his tool as an onboarding tool for new users. On hexgraphs.com, you will find a ton of graphs, videos, and links for HEX. Then there's Dan, who helped us putting together this keynote, and of course, last but not least, a group of Hexican OGs that helped us to make an assumption of the future share pool, Luke, Felix, and Mars. And also, thank you everybody for listening. It was a great keynote, I think. It was really fun.
Yeah, and also from my side, thanks a lot for tuning in. Just to show a few more links, if you're able to speak German, so if you also speak the German language, you can join the Kryptosparbuch Telegram, which is the German-speaking group for HEX on Telegram, which is t.me/Kryptosparbuch. And on Twitter, we are our name is HEX Germany. We are also on DLive, also on Twitch, on YouTube with the channel Kryptosparbuch as well. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the keynote. I hope you are enjoying the Hexchange 2021. I'm looking forward for some awesome conversations in the next days. And so happy hexing and enjoy the rest of the Hexchange 2021.
I've never wanted to speak German so badly because I know you guys stream in German now, and
yeah, but actually we do English content once a week as well. And hello, Karim, if you want to check out our channel, we already did interview Karim as well. It was an awesome interview. We talked a lot about the Dream account. And yeah, how did you like our keynote, man?
No, that was great, man. A lot of detail, a lot of content, and I really appreciate, because I think that's the key that people needs to understand, because it can really, really change their life. You know what I mean? Just like I said when I was on with you guys or with Maddie, is like people need to really have that level 3 understanding of longer pays better. Like, it's really important. And I'm glad that you guys were able to break it down in slides and some of the stuff that we've talked before. And anybody listening right now, if you haven't watched my interview with, Kryptosparbuch or with Maddie, I highly, highly, highly recommend, literally, that you go watch that. It's a lot of hours, but like I always say, your future self will thank you for it. It will give you the knowledge, but more importantly, the confidence to understand where the real value lies, so you can get that long-term mindset, not be stressed out, not worried about price, go about your life, enjoy life, make more money, so you can really have that, I love the term in Germany, that savings account, because that's really what you're doing, and you're protecting yourself against all this rising cost of, inflations and all this other stuff, so that long term you can really, really accomplish your dream. So a quick shout out, I got a text from a gentleman from the Hex chat, and he was, very inspired, and he's working hard to build his dream account so he can buy a farm. That's his dream back in Croatia. And that's great. You see, setting up those targets, setting up those goals, that's what I did for myself when I started from nothing. And I think that's the key. And we're always going to be here along the way to help you. And that's the beauty of the community and the synergy, because by helping each other, everybody accomplished their dreams. So, and this is very exciting. It's just the beginning. So I just came back to hang out. So,
You're perfect.
Exactly right.
We really like to hang out with you, Karim.
This is awesome.
I think really everybody can
inspiring
accomplish their
person.
dreams,
Yeah, exactly. I feel a lot of energy. That's why. But funny thing, Patrick, like I told you guys back in the day, you see how high the share rates start to go up when the price go up. That's behavior psychology, you see?
Yeah.
And it's funny for everybody that's new. It's just, it's not something you can chart because it's future behavior. But if you understand behavior psychology and the marshmallow experiment, that's really what it is. This is going to be your challenge. Can you delay that gratification and really allow yourself to get the mad gains, so to speak, in the long term?
And I want to say something about that, because the marshmallow experiment was a famous psychological experiment that was actually widely misunderstood. It was thought that these are personality traits that are fixed, that decided whether the child, took one marshmallow now or waited to get 2 marshmallows, when in fact the author of the study before he passed away really wanted everybody to know that that was not the results, that the children went on and some of them learned how to delay gratification and became successful that way. And it wasn't just where they started, but it's how they changed over time. And so that's something that I think in Hex we really see, is that maybe people start out with listening to the marketing about it goes up a lot in price, and that's certainly true, but we also begin to change ourselves to be more long-term thinkers when we're surrounded by other people in the community who are modeling good behavior, who are understanding at a deeper level what's going on, and the system of Hex itself, which allows us to save for the future. Exactly like you guys said, why would you put your money back into fiat that's depreciating if you don't need it now? For me, I think to myself, well, I am only in the next year before, let's say I have another stake coming out, I'm not going to live more than 2% of my life. So I only have 2% of my HEX stake, or 2% of my HEX liquid, and 98% staked, right? Because I'm not going to be living more than 2% of my life, I hope, in the next year. And so that's a different attitude to take when I'm able to now put all of my savings that I put into HEX on the end of my ladder of 15 years. That's going to be the best strategy, and you guys have illustrated that very, very well.
I mean, I only have like 0.5 of my HEX liquid, which is like some onboarding HEX, you know, which I like to keep liquid. If I meet somebody who is interested, you know, then we are setting up a wallet together, and I just give him some HEX to work with, you know, in the first place, and then he can figure out like how he can buy Ethereum and so on. And because what you can also do, even with the 2% you want to live off, you can still stake them on a monthly base, you know, like do some short-term staking. I mean, I don't know like how much HEX those 2% are, because I would say you should take at least 500,000 HEX for short-term staking, because otherwise the fees will rip you off a bit. But like if you have a lot of HEX, you can also have like your short-term staking wall and your dream account in the first place, you know. So yes.
And Mehdi, I think you put it really good last week or so. I heard you saying you hold like 3% of your HEX in the beginning of your ladder, and a way more percent on the end of your ladder. And that's, I think we should talk about that. How many percent you should have in your ladder in the beginning, in the middle, in the end? Because when I made my ladder, I messed up a little bit, because I evened it out evenly, like for 15 years, always on my birthday, which sounds great, right? But why would I need so much HEX right now, or in like 21, 22 and something? I should have staked this HEX for the longer term to participate from our keynote information, what we just showed, that in the last third of our duration from 15 years, there's the most gains in HEX to be made. Yeah, and those are mathematical facts. You can't change those, you know, it will happen.
Absolutely. And that's also one of the reasoning behind the power of the dream account, how I said that to make it simple for new people, maybe you put it on a separate account. I know people like to do the ladder thing, which is great, but to not be confused is separating the dream account by just saying, this is the one to maximize. This is the one you get the most amount of t-shirt. It's the money that is for like rainy day, way back when, retirement, long that. So that way you don't get that confused, and you don't get that, you know, indirect feeling when you're like, oh, I should have staked this longer and this and that. By separating the two, then you don't get confused. Now, if you have to do it on the one account for whatever reason, because you want to stuck to that, you're stubborn, whatever, that's fine. But I always say the first stake, when you open it, the first stake that you do should be the longest stake that you do, because again, the best rate you will get is today, because tomorrow it might be different, right? So you want to get the maximum longer pace better, and you want to get the lowest T-share price as you possibly can when you start. So that's why you always want to start with that. And one of the good tricks you can use is ask yourself, how much money can I put away and not look back for it? It's almost like it disappear. Like you're not going to see for the next 10 to 15 years how much that is. And whatever that number is for you, that's the one that you push towards the 555. And then you can start building the ladder over time by gaining more and more as you hopefully continue to work, generate money, because that's the key. Remember, it's for the long term. So you're supposed to continue working, generate more money if you can, some other places, so that you can add to that stash. So those true tricks are very, very important. And the power of staking, going back to Matt's point, is the Marshmallow experiment also really said that it doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. You may have misunderstood in the beginning, but you can learn that skill. You can learn the delay gratification. And HEX is very powerful because it helps you. Because when you stake, there's nothing you can do about it. It's staked. That way it protects you from like, oh my God, FOMO, I would have sold it, I did, and then you would have missed out. So when you stake, it helps you from that. And this is what I'm so passionate about, live stream like this and all the education. And I want to give everybody on the screen here a big shout out, because the work we've been doing so far is working. When you look on the, on Hex.vision, you watch the chart of staking, there's a lot more stakes now going towards the 555 zone or 10-year plus, which means people are learning, people are understanding the value of Hex, which makes it more robust. It adds more value for everybody. And also people are building wealth. So that's a good sign that our education is working. So we can continue to double down, because I believe in people. Maybe coming optimistic, but if you give people the right amount of information and you teach them why they need to do what they need to do, they will take it and run. And that's the work we're here to do. And the power of education, it's very underestimated.
And the beauty is that everybody can do it. Like even people that don't have a lot of money, that just have a normal 9-to-5 job and can only spend like 200 euros or dollars a month in Hex, you can still buy Hex and like stake it out really long to make up for the compensation, and that's what's so awesome.
Absolutely.
Exactly, because what are people doing right now? They still take their 100, 200 bucks they don't need for the next decades and put it in a 401k, or put it in the bank, or put it in a mutual fund, or put it in a stock, or in a bond, or into precious metals, or commodities, or something like that. And here in Hex we have a new possibility, and a really, really lucrative possibility. And especially if you're young, you can, and if you're not able to save up like 100 or 200 bucks per month, you can just save up the money. And when you have the 100 or 200 bucks, then you make the move into Hex and stake it out for the long run. So that then you don't have a monthly ladder in the future, but you can make a quarterly ladder in the future. And you always stake for the maximum, So if you're like 20 right now, you are like in the middle of your workforce, if you're not handicapped or something like that, because of other circumstances, you will be able to make your life in the next 15 years, you won't die of hunger. Depends in which region you are in the world, but
depends how hungry
generally speaking, if you're young and healthy, you might be able to find a job which brings you around for the next 15 years, So you can set up your dream account and put towards its end always. And after a couple of years, or after 15 years, you can harvest those little money plays you made 15 years ago.
Absolutely. And by the way, again, that's a fact. We already have people in the community in less than a year. We have stories of people who invested about, $750 and turning that into $35,000. So this is something that has already happened and will continue to happen most likely, because of how powerful Hex is and the mechanism. And again, people are underestimating the money printing that's going on around the world, which is pretty crazy. So we're very lucky to be in the highest appreciated asset class in the history of the world. That's already a plus. The simple fact that we're in crypto right now, we're so ahead of the game. But now the fact that we're in the right crypto, finished product, the best, basically product in the world, if you ask me, the time deposit, earning money, so passively. And that's really what's going to change the game. So taking the time, doing the learning, step by step, you get ahead. I always say this all the time. Most people, overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can accomplish in 10. And that's the reason. And this is what compounding comes from, and building momentum, being consistent.
Actually, I was looking and searching for passive income possibilities in the last 2-3 years. And I'm so glad that I came along Hex, and exactly I came along at like 1.5 weeks before the first day.
Oh,
I did FOMO in the first 10 days as well, but still I'm really glad to were able to hear about it right before the start.
Well, yeah, you guys have presented some powerful data, and as the therapist in the bunch, I want to remind everybody to not lie to yourself when it comes to your own past behavior. The past is over, and so I don't want you regretting decisions you've made when you didn't have the information that you have today. Humans have kind of this tendency to feel bad once they learn something that they didn't know, and to kind of judge themselves based on what they know today, and to lose sight of the fact that you didn't know this before, right? If you didn't know how much longer pays better, and you made your decisions in the past based on a lesser understanding, don't judge yourself, right? Based on as if you had those tools before. Now that you do have the tools, you can feel proud when you make those longer stakes, knowing that they will pay better, thanks to the work of these fine gentlemen on screen. And so as we wrap up our first day here, I do want to make sure that everybody knows that there's much more awesome content to come. And if you guys want to let everybody know how to find you, I will set up the screen so we can see the rest of the schedule, and then wrap it up.
Yeah, I'll go first. Very simple. So mainly it's either Telegram on all the Hex chat, just Karim, Karim, or on Twitter, which is at Your Magic. So YORMADJIC, or courtesy of Maddie Allen, which is awesome. If you just type stakerclass.com, apparently, and I tried it and it works. It routes directly to my Twitter. So you can't miss me there. So really awesome. But that's probably easier. Yeah, literally, I rock it proudly. The face of the staker class. It longer pays better, and we will win against any trader. Like Richard would say, bring your influencer here to die. I would say, bring your trader here to die. I will put him against the dream account. He will never beat us. Never. So you don't
beat your dream account. It will be pretty hard, yeah. And people, you should check out the video we did with Karim, because he was sharing the same information, and I guess we saw the US dollar value as well when we streamed,
And it'll be a good check, like I told Maddie.
Go check it, and then go back to this video right now and check what it says when Karim was streaming, because I don't remember the number correctly, but it went up.
Yeah.
A six figure,
now, as we wrap up, I just want to let everybody know we're actually not wrapping up for the night. We're wrapping up this talk, and then we're going to be doing a social, and we've got a really awesome we've got a really awesome concert, and a special performer to bring on. So this is going to continue to be the best part of the show. Well, all the parts are the best, but I want to make sure you guys finish telling us how to find you, and then we will do our concert to kick off the social, and then we will we'll end this stream and then restart so that we separate the social part from the conference part. So
sure,
go ahead and keep telling people how to find you.
Of course, sure. Then I will make it real quick. So the most where we are the most is on Telegram. If you want to write us directly in the English language, just write us at Hex or Hex Lion. If you can speak German as well, you can come to the Kryptosparbuch Telegram group. We have each and everybody of us has have a YouTube account as well, which goes by the name Kryptosparbuch, or the channel of Hex is Hex. Just put the underline there as well, that you really find his channel. The same for him goes for Twitter as well, where he has his meme account, his Hex meme Twitter account. The Kryptosparbuch on Twitter is at Hex Germany, and on our YouTube and DLive channels, we are doing English content once per week. Actually, for this week, this right now is our English content, and a German content too. So both languages each and every week.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys, for presenting. And now we'll get to premiere, the world premiere of this concert, and then have our final special guest.
I get why they have hype men up here. I leave a line out, you get it. I'll jump in, you go. All right.
There's so many scams, I have to change my username. Don't ever send me money. Imposters everywhere. Richard Hart, bracket. Don't ever send me money. Imposters everywhere, bracket. That's fucked up, right? Like, I'm out there actually making an effort trying to stop the fucking scams. Everyone else is like, oh, fucking that Richard, yeah, he's a scammer.
Call it a scam, nobody really cares. We can tell you the only one that ain't prepared. Oh yes, I'ma be a millionaire. 5, a couple trillion shares. Oh no, I ain't getting wrecked again. Richard Hart, he got us set to win. We're a family, we all the best of friends. We ain't a cult, man, just call us Hexicans. ICOs, pump and dumps, they always try to take you. Buy low, sell high, I'm tired of your fake news. You need a token, you broken, you wanna see some massive gains? Lambo, new crib, model, wife, cash and chains. Look no further at your final destination. Don't be complacent every day when you paper chasing. Choose the best, leave the rest, stop investing like you press. The only crypto that you'll ever need is Hex. Call it a scam, nobody really cares. We can tell you the only one that ain't prepared. Oh yes, I'ma be a millionaire. 5, a couple trillion shares. Oh no, I ain't getting wrecked again. Richard Hart, he got us set to win. We're a family, we all the best of friends. We ain't a cult, man, just call us Hexicans. Your investments are safe, it's got defenses. A mutable contract that pays trustless interest. I don't understand why everybody is hating. Hex is capped at 3.69 inflation. Shares are like hash rate. The higher you take her, the more daily interest that gets paid to the stakers. Always do your own research, don't listen to me though. It's complete, it can't be changed. Hex is finito. Call it a scam, nobody really cares. We can tell you the only one that ain't prepared. Oh yes, I'ma be a millionaire. 5, a couple trillion shares. Oh no, I ain't getting wrecked again. Richard Hart, he got us set to win. We're a family, we all the best of friends. We ain't a cult, man, just call us Hexicans. The game has changed, ain't no going back now. Dummies that called Hex a scam can back down. I hope you understand, I pray that you follow me. You owe the entire Hex family an apology. And stay sober, cash out, the game's over. Hex is here for the market cap takeover. Buckle up, we about to be full throttle. With multiple audits is where we get paid to hodl. We got the game smothered, sisters and brothers, with no expectation of the work from others. It's complicated, I know that there's a lot to this. For your daily Hex updates, tune to Hexologist. What's up, guys? Hex is like nothing that you ever been through, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the pumpamentals. If you like what you hear, buy now, stake twice. Just remember, yo, this ain't financial advice. Call it a scam, nobody really cares. We can tell you the only one that ain't prepared. Oh yes, I'ma be a millionaire. 5, a couple trillion shares. Oh no, I ain't getting wrecked again. Richard Hart, he got us set to win. We're a family, we all the best of friends. We ain't a cult, man, just call us Hexicans.
Freddie quotes.